In honor of Mega Man 11 being released this year in 2018, I, the Mississippi King, welcome y'all back to my next Let's Play, Mississippi Dukes. This is Let's Play Mega Man, the original. And for those of you who aren't familiar, which I'm not sure why you'd be watching my videos if you're not, but regardless, Mega Man is a super robot created by Dr. Light. He is the guardian of peace and justice. Also, the reason I paused there was because the platforms here make an obnoxious noise when they're moving. Like, by pausing, you eliminate that horrid noise. Anyway, so, a good point about Mega Man? His sense of justice. A bad point? Reckless behavior. Yeah, that more or less coincides with how I play Mega Man. But nevertheless, he likes animals and he dislikes nothing. Really? You sure? Nothing? He doesn't like... There's nothing that he dislikes. I mean, I gather he has a sense of justice, so wouldn't he dislike injustice? I don't know. I guess I'm overthinking this, but nevertheless, this stage isn't as hard as people make it out to be. The opening can be a bit tricky, but all you do is just jump you jump in a sequence. And we're introduced to a really annoying enemy, the Big Eye. Well, screw you too, Big Eye. Just run into me like that. They take out like a third of your health. So yeah, you want to watch out for these punks. But that part was pretty easy. I mean, I wasn't even looking at the screen to get in here. But we're taking on Gutsman first, mainly because he's a very easy robot master, and I'd also like to get him out of the way first so that we can take on... So that after we get Cutman defeated, we can enter Elecman's stage to get something in that stage that is really important. But I'll go more into detail after we get to Elecman's stage. But basically, Mega Man has a series of robot masters that he needs to defeat in order to stop the evil plans of Dr. Wily, or in some cases, a different villain. But you defeat all of them and get their powers, and then it's on to a series of 4 other or more levels that you go through in a set pattern. But you can take on the Robot Masters. That's like the main bosses of this game, the ones that actually give you powers for it. Anyway, I feel I should have mentioned, Gutsman is actually weak to the Hyper Bomb. And it actually takes him out in 3 hits. A lot of bosses die in 3 hits with their weaknesses in this game. Or in the case of Cutman, 2 hits. So, as I was saying, you clear all of these stages in any order you please. And in most other Mega Man games, Mega Man has like 8 Robot Masters, but in this game there are only 6. This game was rather limited compared to its successors. It was made with much smaller resources, and really it wasn't a huge success. The sequel, on the other hand, is a completely different story, and it's likely if the sequel hadn't been such a success, the series might not be a thing. It would have just gone down as a footnote in gaming history. A lot of people seem to think that this game is like one of the hardest in the series. I disagree. Of course, I don't think I wouldn't exactly call most of the Mega Man series hard, but nevertheless, I wouldn't even think this game is the quote-unquote hardest, because it's not actually that difficult. Maybe it's just because I've practiced and I'm fairly familiar with a lot of the layout and the way the enemies work. Now, the reason I'm taking out Gutsman after it's Cutman, my bad. Have I been saying Gutsman? It's not Gutsman, it's Cutman. I guess since Gutsman is called that, I thought, well, you know, must be Gutsman, but no, it's not. But anyway, the reason I'm taking out Cutman after Gutsman is because it's not because Cutman is weak to Gutsman's weapon, the super arm. And well, the reason I'm taking out Cutman next is because, well, he's going to be the weakness he has the weakness for our next Robot Master, Elecman, which, good luck beating him without his weakness. I know I just got done saying the game isn't hard, but I mean, it can be hard-ish, but nevertheless, some of the bosses are fairly tricky. But I'm taking out Cutman because... Well, I took out Gutsman first because he has an item that will help us in Elecman's stage. Again, I'll explain what I mean when we get to it. Because Cutman is a joke with or without his weakness. No, the reason I think Cutman, I can beat him with or without his weakness. But here he is, folks. The easiest Robot Master in the game, and I botched hitting him one time. So, yeah, he is a joke. He is the easiest Robot Master in the game, and that's saying something. We're already done with the fight. Are you kidding me? Also, the information in the cards you have been seeing so far are actually they're actually information taken from the Mega Man and Base cards. It has, like, cards that you can collect, and so I'm putting the information from those cards there. And I'm also putting in what their weaknesses are, as well as their weapons. So Cutman's ability is the rolling cutter. And it's actually pretty good. It's one of the better weapons in this game, I should say. The rolling cutter, by the way, can actually take out those ground enemies that you see right there, and your regular weapon can't do that. I think all of the weapons can actually take them out. It's just your regular weapon that won't. Your regular weapon just freezes them. And I am failing at basic platforming! Like I get through Gutsman's stage without dying, and now I'm struggling to do basic platforming! This is going spectacularly! Actually, it's not too bad. I mean, I'm amazed I haven't died yet. Well, actually, I'm not that amazed. I mean, Gutsman's stage isn't that hard, definitely not as hard as the internet would make it seem. And this stage is also pretty easy as well. Also, now that I think about it, Cutman actually kind of reminds me of a crawfish that I once had. His name, like, I actually managed to catch a crawfish when fishing. I mean, I'm not much of a fisherman, in case my adventures in Ocarina of Time haven't made that clear. But nevertheless, I did go fishing one time, and I actually managed to catch a crawfish. We were actually camping. I was going camping with, like, a friend of mine, And it was in this, like, beautiful place. It was a secluded, place filled with trees, and it was just sort of isolated from a lot of the outside world. It was, like, just a gorgeous place. You would not believe it. And, like, I was going fishing, well, camping there, and, well, one time we decided to go, fishing during this trip, and, well, it was, pretty interesting. And, during this trip I actually caught a crawfish, and I decided to keep him as a pet for a short while, and I actually named him Sebastian because, you know, like, Sebastian just sort of seems like the kind of name I'd imagine a crawfish to have. Like, I don't know if I'm alone in that. Let me know what good crawfish names y'all can think of in the comments. I can't be alone in thinking that Sebastian is a good name for a crawfish. Also, now that we've gotten this far, I feel I should have explained it earlier, but the reason I took out Gutsman first was because you actually need his weapon, or Elecman's weapon, but we haven't got Elecman's weapon, this is his stage. And you need his weapon so that you can get the magnet beam. The magnet beam lets you create a flickering platform that you can walk onto to create something neat, like and it's actually mandatory to beat the game. Now, I think I could have actually taken out Elecman first, and then backtrack into his stage to get it that way, but it would have been a royal inconvenience. Because it's like, then I'd have to go back into his stage, and that would have made everything more obnoxious, because, like, I don't actually want to go back into Elecman's stage. I want to actually, like, make progress. Before we actually take on Elecman, a note on the level design. It's horribly copied and pasted. One time, earlier in Elecman's stage, they just copy and paste the exact same room on the next screen. That is lazy! That is extremely lazy level design. And, like, who designed these levels? The Sonic fan base? Oh, did I just say that? I don't take it back. Screw them, they are so horribly unoriginal. But nevertheless, now on to Elecman himself. Like, this level design is just super lazy, and I realized that the game had some limited resources, but that's no excuse for lazy copy and paste level design, seriously. That is just egregious that they reuse the same screen. Let's fight Elecman! We're probably gonna take out all 6 Robot Masters in this very video. This is not a long game, folks. And I died! That didn't happen. Well, actually it did, but Elecman can kill you in 3 hits with his Elec Beam, so watch out. But the good news is that your rolling cutter can kill him in 3 hits too, so he's actually pretty easy with his weakness, I'm not gonna lie. And after Elecman, we're actually going to do something that may seem crazy. We're gonna take on Fireman next. And no, he's not a firefighter, so don't go thinking that he's here to help. Well, I mean, he was designed to help, to work in an incinerator, so I mean, but he's not here to put out any fires, okay? He's not a firefighter. And I realized that Elecman's weapon is not Fireman's weakness, I'm well aware of that. His weakness is actually the Ice Slasher. But I prefer to take on Fireman first because his stage is easy, and he's pretty easy. I can beat him with the default weapon, no problem. And right as I say that, I died on the first screen on Fireman's stage. Fantastic! My playing skill has just been very inconsistent. So, like, I get through one of the hardest Robot Master stages in the game, or at least what many other people consider one of the hardest, without dying, but I died to the first stage, to the first screen of one of the easiest stages. Or at least, in my opinion, it's one of the easiest. But nevertheless, I swear I am not normally this bad at Fireman's stage. It's just, for some reason, I just screwed up there. Nevertheless, the Elecman's weapon, the Thunder Beam, is actually really good in this stage. Like, the Thunder Beam, it's like the metal blade of this game. I'm serious, it is just, like, super powerful. And I realize the metal blade hasn't really been invented yet, but nevertheless, it's still overpowered. It is, like, crazy good. Like, just look at its range. It shoots up, down, and in a straight line with, like, a huge range. I mean, it's just real good in this stage. And I swear I can beat Fireman without his weakness. I can beat just about any of the Robot Masters without their weaknesses. I mean, maybe Elecman is an exception, but nevertheless, the rest are pretty easy for the most part. And I hope I don't die to Fireman. Also, I feel I should mention, I don't think I said this before, but the 6 Robot Masters in this game were actually designed by Dr. Light, the creator of Mega Man. And they were designed to be beneficial to humanity to help out in various ways. But Dr. Wily hijacked them and made them work for him instead, turning them rogue. And with some exceptions, most of the Robot Masters in the series were designed to be beneficial to humanity. I don't think all of them were designed by Dr. Light, though. But he did pioneer the technology for them, I believe. As for Fireman, well, don't worry about him. He's not pining, he's passed on. This robot is no more. He has ceased to be. He's expired and gone to meet his maker. This is a late robot. He's a stiff, bereft of life. He rests in peace. If I hadn't blown him up, he would be pushing up the daisies. He's rung down the curtain and joined the choir invisible. This is an ex-robot. Okay, in all seriousness, let's just take out Bombman's stage. Bombman, by the way, is not to be confused with Bomberman, which is a character from a completely different series. To make matters even more confusing, the Japanese name of Bombman is actually Bomberman, so yay, that won't cause any confusion whatsoever. That is just peachy. This stage is actually pretty easy, I must admit. I don't know if I've said this yet, but the music for this game is fantastic. I mean, the level design can be lazy, but also there's something I should show off. If you collect something, like a pellet back there, and then you go back down, it respawns! Because, yeah, they were too lazy to actually correct that. I mean, I'm not complaining too much, because there is a certain spot in Dr. Wily's castle that this will be important, so, I mean, I wouldn't be complain that much because, like, it is actually almost necessary. I mean, not exactly necessary, but still, it definitely helps. But, yeah, the music to this game is just phenomenal. I love it. Honestly, I think this music is some of the best in the series, although personally I do agree with most people in that Mega Man 2 and 3 definitely have better soundtracks. Also, I think it's a bit of a shame that although Mega Man 2 and 3 are legitimately amazing games, that they're kind of overshadowed. Well, they've kind of overshadowed the original. But enough about that. We're actually getting pretty close to Bomberman. Almost said Bomberman, so yeah, that's fantastic. Now I'm getting things mixed up. I don't think Bomberman is a robot master unless you're in Japan, in which case he is, which that is totally not confusing whatsoever. Also, I feel I should mention, like, the robot masters before, like, Fireman. Like, a good point about Fireman is that he's hot-blooded. A bad point is that he's hot-tempered. Yeah, they feature a lot of puns of similar caliber. Get used to it. There are a lot of puns like that. It'll keep coming up in this series, because apparently the creators of Mega Man and Bass couldn't resist making bad puns about the Robot Masters. Also, Bombman, like, he works best with his weakness, but, like, I can easily beat Bombman with his weakness. I'd say he's, like, the second easiest Robot Master in the game, next to Cutman. Like, Bombman is, like, super easy, so it's like I don't really need his weakness. It's just I really like the Firestorm. That's Fireman's weapon, in case the card didn't tell you. But anyway, Fireman's weapon is just really good, and it comes in handy a lot in Iceman's stage. Just look at how we're blazing through this, like so. Nothing can stop us. Like, we get a shield, and we shoot a fireball that destroys most enemies in one hit. That is, like, really good. This game has some of the best weapons in the series. I mean, though it also has some pretty lousy ones, like the Super Arm, which is just way too circumstantial to be helpful. Also, for those of y'all who are worrying, this will not get in the way of Final Fantasy VI or The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is just a side project. My Mega Man LPs will just be confined to, like, the weekend. So it won't get in the way of anything. They're just sort of like side projects of mine, so don't worry about that. I will still get around to Final Fantasy VI. It's just, I felt that I should also entertain my audience with some LPs of some shorter games, because, like, I know Final Fantasy VI is a really long game. Also, I seem to be struggling at basic platforming yet again, because, you know, I keep bringing this up, but, like, for some reason I get through Gutsman's stage without dying, but of course I can't get through Iceman's stage without screwing up basic platforming. Well, nevertheless, Iceman is up next, and he is pretty easy with his weakness, though you do want to watch out for him, though, because he can do a lot of damage. As much as Elecman, his Ice Slasher kills you in 3 hits. So yeah, we are going to take out all 6 Robot Masters in this very video. Iceman actually has a pretty easy pattern to him. You just jump over him like that, and he's dead in less than 4 seconds or so. Easy. This is just super easy, man. People say this is the hardest in the series? One of the hardest? Well, anyway, that's all for this video. This is the Mississippi King signing out, and in the next episode, we'll take on Dr. Wily himself. We'll start the castle. See y'all next time.